And today I'm going to talk about the importance of stopping treating your magic like a one night stand. Hey, Karen, welcome. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is that a lot of times what I notice is that people will do one and done magical spells. And it's like they're treating their magical practice like a one night stand that they've come to in order to get that short term bliss and dopamine hit. And then afterwards, they go back into their life and it's like nothing happened. And a lot of times, the magic that they end up working ends up being a short, fizzled result that doesn't really bring a lot of the change that they're looking for. Now, I know that's a bold thing to say. I mean, talking about the idea of magic being a one night stand. Wow. But I think that in a lot of what we have out there is this tendency to kind of get sucked into the lifestyle of magic, the image, the appearance of magic, but not actually live a magical life. And to me, living a magical life, it takes a certain level of commitment. It takes a certain level of dedication. It's not something that you enter into lightly. I've noticed that a lot of what happens in the magical community is that, there will be some people who are hardcore about their magical work. They're doing it every day or they're doing it every so often. And they're reading the books, they're committed to the practice. And then I see, a lot of stuff go up there where it's just like, okay, this person's going for a certain lifestyle look, but they're not actually serious about what they're doing. And well, why are we practicing magic? Are we practicing magic to fit an aesthetic? Or are we practicing magic because we actually want to accomplish something? This is the question I think that's worth asking. And here I am on a Friday afternoon with you talking about this because I think it's an important topic that is often missed out on and forgotten in the wake of focusing on, these short-term results or doing a one and done type of magical working because people are in a hurry as well. In fact, that's kind of the biggest problem that we face in a lot of ways is that we want magic on the go. We want magic to happen in a very quick and easy manner. And I don't think that that's really helpful. As I've gotten deeper and deeper into my magical practice over the years, what I've discovered is that the more I immerse myself into it, the more it requires a level of commitment and dedication. Now, that level of commitment and dedication comes out in different ways. One of the ways that it comes out is in the way that I actually connect the magical work to everything that I do in my life. So, like this morning, I'm getting up and I stretch and I exercise and I lift weights. And all of these things aren't overtly magical, but what I'm doing is I'm feeding all that effort and energy into magical workings that I have ongoing because I want to give that effort and energy to the magic in order to help generate the outcomes and results that I want, but also to deepen the magical current in my life. And this is one of the things that I think is really important is that the way we deepen our magical current matters. The way that we commit ourselves to the magic matters. It's not something that we can just go and do on a shallow way. It's got to be something where we're fully committed to it. We're fully immersed and embodied in our magical practice. This is one of the things that I teach in How Magic Works, which is a 7-step class that I teach and offer. And I'm going to actually throw the link into here for you guys because it's useful and it's a class that really ultimately boils magic down to in a very simple way toward what you're practicing. But what it does is it strips out all the mystery and gets focused in on what actually generates successful results. And one of the things that generates the successful results is an iterative approach to magical work. The iterative approach to magical work is the approach that says, let's actually build some repetition into our magical workings. Welcome the Legion. If you or Karen have questions, feel free to drop those in the comments here, and I'm more than happy to answer them. Or if you have any comments, when I look at an iterative approach to magical work, what I'm really looking at is building in a certain level of repetition. I look at longer term magical workings that stick. And the reason why I do longer term magical workings and use repetition and iteration is because there is a lot more power in using iteration in magical work than in doing a once and done magical working. Think about the amount of effort that is involved in doing a once and done magical working. You've gone and done this magical working, you're putting everything together, and you're going to do it one time only. You do it that one time, and you've raised all that energy and that effort up, and then you've essentially released it and climaxed, kind of like in a one night stand. And then it's like the next morning you wake up and you're kind of like, okay, that was nice. I'm going to go on my way. And maybe you awkwardly shuffle out the door. It's kind of the same thing. When we treat magic like a one night stand, what we're doing is we're missing out on a substantial part of our own power. Our commitment and our devotion to our magic is kind of like being in a committed and devoted relationship. The more you show up in that relationship, the more presence you bring, the juicier and more erotic it gets. And it takes some work to do that, but it's effort that's well worth making. When you leave that untended, then the people that you're involved with aren't going to, feel as engaged, and they'll start to leave it untended as well. And it's the same thing with magic. Welcome, Hans. Glad to have you here. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to drop them in. So when I look at repetition and iterative magic, what I look at is if I'm going to put all that energy and effort into putting a magical working together, then why not continue to sustain that? Because it actually takes less energy in the long run, less effort, if there is a consistent effort. So if I'm doing a magical working, I will actually build that magical working into ongoing magical work that I'm already doing. Like I do a sphere of art meditation each day, and that sphere of art meditation essentially also folds in everything else that I might be doing. And so when I have a magical working that I want to do, I fold it into the sphere of art, add it to it, and take all that effort that's already been put into this one working and feed it into the working that I'm doing right then and there. And a lot of times what I'll also end up doing is doing that same working again a few more times at least, because there is real substantial power. And it doesn't mean you have to do it like on a daily basis. Like, for example, every time I do a full moon working or a new moon working, and we've got a new moon actually tonight, what I end up doing is I build some iteration into the idea that every single time I've already done a new moon or a full moon working or something like that, I'm linking all of those other moments to the magical working that I'm doing right then and there. And it might be a little bit different, but there are two things in common. There's me and there's that particular phase of the moon that I'm working with. So we have this really powerful concept that we can apply in magical work. And it makes our magical workings more sustainable and powerful. So if you're looking at your magical work and you're sometimes kind of like, I don't feel like I'm getting as much juice out of it as I'd like. It doesn't seem to be coming together in quite the way I want. One thing that I would encourage you to do is build repetition in, because doing it over and over again will also give you a chance to iron out what isn't working. A lot of times you can figure out like what do I need to adjust or tweak or change? And that in and of itself can be helpful in your magical practice. If you're not sure how to do that, one of the things that I will suggest and recommend to you is to also check out my How to Troubleshoot Your Magic course, because in that particular course, I actually walk you through the common things and issues, the problems that get in the way of your magical workings and can actually stop you from getting the results you want. And one of those issues is the lack of repetition, the lack of iteration, the lack of consistency. If we just settle for a once and done approach, what we're doing is we are missing out on the true efficacy and depth of our own power and our own presence. So that's it for today. I just wanted to shoot a short and sweet live video here for y'all on Substack. And stop treating your magic like a one night stand. It wants more from you, and you deserve to give it more.